This is my single ultra-wide desk setup for 2024. I started working in this dedicated home office almost a year ago, and it's had a huge impact on my productivity. Since then, I've made a few significant updates, namely with the updated single monitor, which we'll touch on later. This definitely isn't minimal, but it's a lot cleaner than before and a cozy place to work. For the desk itself, I'm using a countertop from IKEA as the desktop, this one being the Carlby. If you're wondering, it's 74 inches long and about 25 inches deep. The table isn't solid wood, but rather a particle board on the inside with a layer of real wood on the outside. Still, it's very heavy and feels solid. I've had a monitor mounted on this and plenty of peripherals sitting on top without any problems. The table itself looks gorgeous and the dark wooden color looks great in my office. The Carlby is sitting on top of the standing legs from FlexiSpot, which I've had for a year or two now, and it works great. I don't actually use my standing desk all that much, but I like the flexibility for when I want to get up. Making adjustments is very smooth and doesn't cause it to shake too much. Because I sit the majority of the day, having a nice chair is important. This is the Herman Miller and Logitech Embody, which is a crazy expensive chair costing around $2,000. I know it sounds insane, but if you're sitting at a desk between 8, 10, even 12 hours a day, it's so important that you have a chair that supports your posture. Since sitting in this chair for the last couple of months, I've had significantly less back pain. All that said, you really don't have to pay this much for a chair because if you go online or even Facebook Marketplace, you can find Herman Miller's oftentimes for 50% off, which I think is a fantastic deal if you don't mind getting a used one. These chairs are built to last and are something you can have in your office for literal decades. On the right side of my desk is a coffee maker from XBloom. I usually have 2 to 3 cups of coffee throughout the morning, and having it right here has been very convenient. It's a nice way to take a break and try out new coffee flavors. XBloom has sponsored me in the past, but they're not today, and this is just a machine that I really like. It looks gorgeous, and with their app, there's a lot of customization options that you have. I've now found the settings that work for me, so I can just open up the app, press start, and a minute later, my coffee's ready to go. For speakers, I have the Audio Engine HD ones, and these are really nice. They can get quite loud for their size, and they're great for listening to music or podcasts while sitting at my desk and filming around the office. The bass isn't great, so if that's something you care about, I definitely recommend getting a subwoofer. I've been meaning to get one myself, but just haven't gotten around to it. I also had the A2 Pluses from Audio Engine and used those for years, and these are essentially a slightly stepped up version. The sound signature is identical to me, but I much prefer the design of these ones and the volume knob giving me quick access at front. You can connect these over Bluetooth, but I have them hooked up over a 3.5mm jack plugged into my CalDigit TS4 dock. I tend to wear headphones at the desk more often though, especially when I'm on meetings, and for those times, I wear the Bear Dynamic DT990 Pros. I absolutely love these headphones and honestly can't recommend them enough. They're incredibly lightweight and the cushions make them super comfortable to sit on your head. The open back design is something I really enjoy. I think it makes them sound a lot more natural and clear. Although this does mean you're gonna hear anything in your environment, which means loud neighbors or people talking in the other room will be clear as day. I have the 250 ohm versions which require an audio interface, but if you don't have one, the cheaper 80 ohm version will work just fine plugging into any device. The interface I use is the Scarlett 2i2, which is fine, but if you're in the market, I'd recommend an Evo 4 over this one. That one gives you a nice volume knob at top and the ability to automatically set your gain levels. That said, I have an SM7B with a cloud lifter plugged into the Scarlett, which is what I use to record these voiceovers. This is a great mic for recording audio, but the MV7 is another option that has a similar sound signature and is a fair amount cheaper. I have it on the Elgato Wavearm, which I like for its more low profile design, but tightening it is a pain in the ass and it never stays in place. Now for monitors, I used to rock dual stacked ultrawides, which for a while I liked, but honestly over the last 6 months or so, I mostly stopped using the top one. After my main 34-inch started flickering, I binned it and picked up this new 38-inch ultrawide from LG. I absolutely love this monitor and think this is my ideal monitor size. As someone who does a lot of creative work, having such a wide display is really convenient. I can very comfortably fit 3 windows at a time, which is usually enough for both designing and programming. I was afraid this would be huge compared to 34 inches, but I think it's the perfect step up as it is noticeably larger, but not so much that it takes up a crazy amount of space on the desk. I connect to it over a USB-C to DisplayPort cable, but you can also hook up with HDMI 2.0 or hook up directly over USB-C capacity to provide 90 watts of power. The monitor has a 3840 by 1600p resolution, which at 38 inches comes out to about 109 ppi, which is the same pixel density as my old 34-inch ultrawides, though that's not a bad thing as I think it's fairly sharp. It has a 144Hz refresh rate, which means it could be a solid option if you're also playing PC games, but even just working on the desktop, a higher refresh rate feels great. This is helped by the monitor arm I'm using, which is from Airwing on Amazon. This was honestly hard to find because there's only a few gas spring arms for displays this large, but the benefit you get and end up paying quite a bit more over a cheap Vivo arm is making small adjustment become so easy. If you want to adjust your monitor, you don't have to use an Allen wrench to move around or keep it in place. The only thing to note about the arm is you either need to have your desk pretty far away from the wall or have a long enough one that it has enough room to bend and still be centered on your desk. On top of the monitor, I have a BenQ screen bar halo which lights up the surface of my desk and is convenient to have here at night. There's a remote that goes along with it to adjust the brightness and color temperature, but it's a little annoying to activate and I honestly prefer the version that has the controls on the light bar itself. By the way, if you like my desktop wallpaper, you can grab it with the link in the description. Next, this entire setup is powered by my 14-inch M3 Pro MacBook, and it's been a great laptop. The small form factor is great to use when traveling or working away from the desk, and even during the times I have it as an extended monitor, it's perfect. This is the base model, which I do honestly regret buying as my resolve timelines will stutter from time to time. I have it in the space black finish, which in my opinion is the best color, and it goes along super nicely with the dark aesthetic that I have. I have the Mac hooked up to the CalDigit TS4 dock, which is connected up to my monitor, speakers, and audio interface. I also make use of the SD card reader at front and the USB port for charging devices. There's a ton of ports at the back and a DisplayPort connection that lets you use your monitor at the max refresh rate. Investing in a quality dock like this is definitely worth it and makes switching between my personal and work laptop take seconds. I then bought a Macbook Stand from Rain Design to replace my old GroveMade dock so that I could keep my Mac as a secondary display if I ever needed. This is a great stand that elevates the height of the Mac so it could be used standalone as a way to work with better posture. There's room underneath to store a keyboard or any other items when not in use. There's also a hole at the back side that you can run cables through to keep it looking tidy. Now next is the new Amazon Echo Spot, which I bought immediately after finding out about. The original version was discontinued probably 3 years ago at this point, and it's by far the most asked about product on my desk. There's just something about this circular design that looks so sleek. This newer one essentially just has a larger speaker grill at the bottom, and it gives you a simple display to show the time and weather. Paired with it, I use an Alexa compatible light strip from Amazon. It's from some random brand, but the reason I went with it is because it's a solid white strip. I never set a color at my desk, and using a regular RGB strip doesn't give you a true white hue. This is a relatively cheap purchase that just takes a couple of minutes to install and makes a significant improvement to the aesthetic of your space. The same can be said for my cable management tray. This one's from Vivo and I just attached it with some command strips and stuffed all of the cables that I have into it. Now for peripherals, I test quite a range of different ones, especially with keyboards. One of my favorite mechanical keyboards is the Lumen Key 80, but Keychron's version of the Wooting was another one I've used recently and really like. I've gone dead simple though and find with most products that ends up being the best option. I'm actually a really big fan of the Max keyboard, and the MX Keys Mini gives you a very similar typing feel. I originally bought this just to travel to my second setup with, but I love it so much that I've been continuing to use it. The same can be said about the MX Anywhere 3S, mainly because my MX Master has become practically unusable with how laggy it is, but besides the side scroll wheel, I don't miss it much. Underneath it, I have a Delta Hub Carpio which elevates your wrist to prevent strain. It works well and I'm glad I have it, but for what it is, $40 is kind of insane. You can find cheap alternatives on Amazon that will work essentially the same. I have all these sitting on top of a desk mat from Nordic, which for the price, about $20, is a great deal. It's of course not real leather, but the material still feels surprisingly high quality and looks sleek. It doesn't slide around and feels great to the touch. Next, there's a few accessories I have on the desk that I like to have around. First is a MagSafe charger from ESR. Pairing the S24 with their clear case makes it easy to keep my phone away and charging, along with the AirPods underneath. When not on the charger, I throw my phone and things like keys into this wooden valet tray, which I currently have at the right side of my desk. I honestly like having it here because it's so easy to drop everything in when I sit down. Next are two physical products, a timer and note cards, that I much prefer over just using my phone or computer. I have pens that I used to write with that I keep in a nice wooden holder on top of my desk, but also keep some in the two drawers I have mounted underneath. I mainly keep things like my microfiber cloth in here that I want quick access to throughout the day. Then lastly is a model Porsche GT2 RS, which is just a nice item to keep on display. All of these items have helped me create a cleaner workspace that I enjoy working at, which makes me more productive when I'm designing or programming. For the latter, Brilliant, who are sponsoring this video, have a ton of lessons where you learn programming by doing, in addition to math, data analysis, and AI. Brilliant helps you learn by spending just a bit of time each day. For the last 3 months, I've spent 30 minutes each morning programming, and I've already learned a ton just by building that habit. To try everything Brilliant has to offer completely free for 30 days, visit brilliant.org/ColeCalcamus or visit the first link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription when you sign up. Let me know which product you like the most, and if you want to check anything out, I left a link in the description to everything I mentioned. If you enjoyed this video, you'll want to watch this one next, where I go over my second desk setup at my parents' that's a lot more minimal than this one. Take care.